Hi everyone! In this video, I'm gonna give you guys some tips on how to get unstuck in case you're feeling like you're a bit in a rut when practicing mediumship. If you're feeling stuck about your abilities, or like you're not really going that far or evolving in the speed that you'd like to, or maybe you're not just getting anything right, chances are that you're feeling a little bit insecure. And that could be from multiple reasons. It could be because the readings we are doing, we're not getting things right. It could be because we're not feeling like we're connecting properly, or we're not connecting at all, or we're potentially making things up in our minds, or we're just simply not practicing enough, or are just not connecting within as often as we could. So not finding moments of stillness so we could feel in how our aura feels like. So then we're able to differentiate what is from us, what is from someone else, and then be able to read the difference in that way. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're doing. We're interpreting energy and trying to get a feel and a sense to what that energy feels like and how different it is from what we are used to, which is ourselves, right? My main tips to start off if you're feeling like you're a little bit stuck is, first, make sure that you're trying to practice a bit more often or more regularly with friends or in websites that allow you to do that. Like Very So is a website that allows you to connect with other mediums and do quick exchange practices. So you practice with them and they practice with you. And that is a great safe space for you to try things out, see if they land, and better understand how you're interpreting things. Another thing that is important to consider is the possibility that your abilities may be changing, and just because you're not seeing things clearly in your mind or hearing things clearly as you used to, maybe now you know how things are supposed to be. So maybe your clair strength is shifting, and that is a sign of evolution and progress, not regression. And sometimes we're just not picking up on that, and we just feel like we lost the spark, we lost the connection, which it is not possible, by the way. The connection is always there, and as my mediumship instructor would say, you are a cloak in spirit. So there's no such thing as, oh, I'm gonna ask a spirit to come and they're just gonna show up out of nowhere. We always have spirits around with us. Trusting and believing that will help you make sure that that connection that you do, as soon as you shift into the spiritual vibrancy, frequency, then you will be better able to pick up on the nuances with that. So if you're finding that getting the connection and feeling connected is where you're stucking yourself in and you're not being able to move past that or feel if you're connected or not, I would suggest finding guided meditations online, either on Insight Timer, which is a great app, YouTube, or Spotify. You're always going to find guided meditations there. It's just a matter of finding which speaker, which meditation will resonate with you. You can always also practice deep breaths and deep surrender. I feel that for us to really connect and trust in that connection, we need a level of surrendering ourselves and surrendering to the moment and being present within what you have, what you perceive, and what you feel at that stage. And sometimes our minds get in the way and start doing the thinking, and then we disconnect very quickly. So it's a very intense process of surrendering, and it requires a lot of trust and just knowing that you are safe. And if it helps, doing a prayer beforehand, so you will be better able to actually do the full surrender of your energy, so you can open up to channel different frequencies other than just yours. You can always repeat the mantra bigger, brighter, higher, bigger, brighter, higher, as you're doing the surrendering, as you're paying attention to the deep breaths. You can also say the words shift, and when you're saying shift, which is shifting to the spiritual world, when you say that, you can also roll your eyes up, and you can keep your eyes closed if that helps as well, which helps to a lot of people. One thing that I used to do, and I still do sometimes since I'm a very visual person, is imagining that I am a kite. So it's this idea that I have a string that connects me and ground me to earth, to everything that is. And then I myself am this kite that is high and expanding, high in the sky. In that case, it sounds a bit weird, but it will be different for everyone. Each person will have a different way, a different metaphor to really feel like they are connected into this surrendering, bigger, brighter, higher state. To me, visualizing a kite as I am the kite connected with the string and then expanding and flying and surrendering to it did help. Another thing that you could do with the visualization is pretend or imagine that there is this pond that is upside down you, and the pond is the spiritual world. And then the pond comes down closer to you, and then you submerge yourself in it. And it could be from top to bottom or bottom to top. If you want to start from your feet up, that works. If you want to go from head up, to me, head up works better, because then I imagine myself submerging into it, and then I shift. Another thing that you could do to double check, am I connected or not, is assign a color to your aura and the energy field that you're in right now. I always assign my aura as being white just because to me that makes sense. And then once I'm shifted, I would feel sensations in my body, but I will also check what is the color that I feel. And usually when I'm connected, I see blue, and then I know connection is made. You can also say the mantra and do almost like a little prayer with spirit, where you say, allow me to see, allow me to hear, allow me to feel, allow me to know. Allow me to see, allow me to hear, allow me to feel, allow me to know. And you say that over and over, and you trust that that's happening and it will happen and it's real. And a lot of it is the trusting, right? So we have to always get back to, I trust, I surrender, I trust, I surrender, I trust, I surrender, the breath's being present. Once you're connected, hopefully one of those steps or multiple of those steps will help you. Try a few, try different days. Not everything has to work perfectly. You're gonna find your groove as you do it through action, not through thinking. And once you are connected, to double check. The assigning the color is one way that I feel, to me personally, works really well. How is my color before connecting? How is my color after connecting? What do I see right away? What do I feel like the color is? The body temperature might change. You might feel colder or warmer. A lot of people sweat a lot when they're connected. There was a phase in my development where I would actually feel a lot of tingling, numbing sensations in my body, in the extremities of my body, tips of the finger, tips of the feet. Sometimes even shivers will happen. Some people, I've heard that they would feel like there's spider webs in their face, or a hand in their hair, very softly caressing them. It will be different to everyone. I would also very frequently feel a dense energy around, so it's a slightly different frequency of energy than I feel when I'm not connected. And if you feel like your energy, you're perceiving that as a different color, again, usually that is usually a really good sign. But let's say that you're stuck, your feeling of stuckness is not really in, okay, I'm practicing regularly, that is not the problem. I get some stuff right. That is not the problem. And I am trusting and connecting. And I know that I'm connected and I feel the shifts, and that's all good. So if the problem is in readings themselves, if that's where you're feeling like you're in a rut, then I would suggest asking the spirit during the reading, when you're connecting with the spirit, and if suddenly you're getting a lot of yeses and suddenly you start to get no's and no's and no's, chances are either you are connected with multiple spirits, which tends to be the case. You might be reading some other aspect or misinterpreting what you're getting. So you could be reading another aspect, either reading an aura reading of someone that is alive or the person itself that you're reading, the sitter, or you could also potentially be misinterpreting the information that you get. So instead of jumping to conclusions and trying to connect the dots, you literally just say what you get. You don't add, you don't try to understand, you don't try to connect the dots, you don't try to explain to the sitter. Their job is to explain to you later on. Your job is to just be the mailman, the middleman, the person in between spirit and sitter. And your job is to deliver the letter, not to read the letter and feel things about that particular letter. You could be sending an eviction note, you could be sending a love letter. Your job is to give as much information so the sitter understands what that letter is all about. So if in the reading, within the reading, you're feeling like the stuck or things are not quite flowing in the way that they could, you could ask spirit to say that again, to show that to you again in a different and stronger way. If you're seeing something, you can ask spirit to please allow me to hear. What do I know? What do I feel? Show me a letter. Show me a word. Associate that with something that is easier for you, or you put a pin on it, move on to the next thing. Because what we don't want to do is get stuck into this one evidence that we're not being able to decipher, and then our minds will start acting up to work on the rational side to try to make sense of it. Well, like, if the sitter is saying no, how can this be connected then? And then we make all sorts of assumptions, and we don't want to make assumptions. We are here to translate. If that evidence doesn't land, put a pin, move on. If it is important enough, they would do it, and they would do it in a stronger and effective way so you can understand and pass that information on to the sitter. You can also cycle through the clairs, as I've mentioned in multiple other videos, like what do I see, what do I hear, what do I taste, what do I feel, what do I know about this gentleman, about this lady, about this child that I am perceiving, feeling, knowing right now. What are the other senses that I can perceive from it? And how does that come about? You can also ask spirits to come close to you. As you're doing the reading, you ask, please come close, come very, very close. And you can even imagine spirit within you, and you can even tell spirit, My mind is your mind, my eyes are your eyes, my mouth is your mouth. And then you have the thoughts of spirit. This works really well if you're wanting to get clearer messages or deeper messages. You basically look to the sitter through the spirit's eyes, and you put that intention and you feel that feeling, and you're gonna be able to then recognize things and see things and understand things through spirit's lenses, not your own. Another thing that you could do is also assign a color to the spirit or the aura or the energy that you're reading. So again, if you're assigning, you know that that is not yours, and then you try to lean into that particular color to try to get more clarity over what could this mean, how does this feel, what do I see, what do I taste, what do I hear, what do I know about this particular color within the spirit. So if the issue is maybe I'm getting multiple spirits, I'm getting some yeses and some nos, or confusion is coming in the way, you're definitely getting something from somewhere, because you're not making things up, especially if you're feeling connected and you're not putting your rational thoughts into, like if the thoughts feel like they make absolutely no sense to you, chances are that is not from you. But sometimes we are getting multiple spirits without realizing, or the sitter might not be connecting, but maybe they didn't know the multiple spirits that are coming through, so they cannot validate that information or quickly associate. Especially because if they have their mind set on something, it's hard for them to pinpoint to someone else that they could or could not know. If you're confused about multiple spirits and getting a lot of yeses or nos, my tip would be assigning colors to them. Again, the colors to me are very effective, so I keep sharing that one. So again, do we have multiple spirits? Which colors do I have around here? You can ask them to separate. So if you get multiple yeses, first of all, you have to do the cleaning, the house cleaning. Put the very strong intention to connect with only one, a spirit that the sitter wants to connect with or can recognize. And you can assign a color to them, or you could ask the spirits to form a line and walk through a door. So you're going to open the door once. Whoever comes through is the one spirit you're reading, just to make sure they're separated. And you can ask them to separate, split, and some people visualize they're in their minds. That tip does not work for me, but I heard working wonderfully with other mediums. So you can ask them to split and separate, and then you can start seeing how many. And if you're not too used of having multiple spirits, always going back to those mediumship exercises that I share in previous videos, where we do the exercise of like how many spirits do I feel, where are they located, that type of thing. That will be most of the tips that I have to share with you guys today. I'm sure there's many others, and again, because this development is very personal to each of us, it's going to be different. Chances are not everything that I shared will resonate with everyone. Not everything that I shared will work with everyone. You have to find what works for you within the groove, the flow, and the energy that you have and you're able to connect with. Obviously, we're different people. We have different energies. We have different ways of perceiving the world. That's also going to be true with spirit reading and energy reading. So be patient. A lot about this development is also about self-knowledge. And if we haven't explored this world a lot, we won't know much about it. And this is uncharted territory for all of us. So I would suggest just don't lose faith. Keep practicing. Be consistent about it. I find that the more I practice, the more confident I feel. If I spend long periods of time with no practice at all, then I start to doubt if that is a real connection or not. And the practice can come not just by reading sitters, it could come from you practicing the connection with spirituality on a regular basis. So there's different ways to connect with spirit to each of us, but I feel like the key is just making sure that we are consistent about it. Consistent about our practice and consistent about our intention and being mindful of what it is that I want out of this. Obviously, we should be doing this connection because it's true to our soul and ourselves and it resonates with us in some positive way and to create a positive impact in people's lives. So making sure that the spiritual connection is on an everyday basis with you. You just don't connect with spirit when you're doing a reading. You connect to spirit every single day for yourself, for your soul, for your own personal connection. And that could be in multiple times of the day. It could be before bed. It could be as soon as you wake up. Some people do automatic writing as soon as they wake up. Some people talk to spirit when they or do little meditations when they go for walks. So just making sure that you're keeping that connection. So when it's time to do a reading, you can actually trust what you get because the connection is always there. It is there regardless if you're doing something about it or not. But if you are intentional about that connection, and the conversations that we have with spirit, that will definitely help us in the long run. And you can connect with the source, we can connect with God, you can connect with your higher self, your spiritual guides, guardian angels. Any and all of those connections will help you throughout your development. So when it is time to do a reading, you'll always be prepared, regardless if you've done a sitting in the power before and a meditation before or not. And then another thing that can be very helpful for connecting is listening to a great music or watching videos that bring you joy. A lot of times raising our vibration, that can also help to create a stronger connection in general. So we're not like swimming in a muddled pond of our minds with stale thoughts that sometimes can happen. Once again, I hope this helps. I'll see you guys in the next video. Try some of those practices out. Try to incorporate some of this with the exercises that I have in the previous videos that I've done. And if you have any questions, as always, let me know. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!